Hello. Today we're going to look at just a simple C# application, first time look. Pretty simple stuff, maybe 5-minute video. See how I can do this real quick. Say new project. Once a new project comes up, we can go to Windows and we can say a C# empty project. I'll just name it project 1, that's fine. When it comes up, it looks like many other projects you have out there. It's got your project here and a references directory. We'll create our first class by going in here and saying add a class. And we'll call this test. There we have our first class in our first project. Now notice that when we added this class, it added one reference here. A reference is how you pull in external assemblies to be used within your project. All these references here are usually .NET assemblies. If you want to pull in C++ assemblies, you can, but you have to actually do some special marshalling to expose them. And we're not going to go through that in this video, but I'll show you that's where you add other C# projects, or even VB project, any .NET project you can add in as a reference. And you just do that by right-click, say Add Reference. So we have our one class here, and I'll show you kind of an overview of what you're looking at. At the top is our using statements. Now the C++ equivalent of a using is like an include. The difference between an include and a using is that using, all I'm doing is letting this particular file know about a particular namespace. For instance, the namespace that I'm in right now is the default namespace that follows the name of our project. So our project was project 1, so our namespace is project 1. So I have a class.text, a test. If I were to go in here and create another class, and let's call this one test2, it'll create another class, test2, and it'll also be in the default namespace project 1. Now if I want to use both of these within each other, we can. If maybe I had a variable here. Let me just create an int. See, a C++ way of creating an int is like this: int number. And as soon as I do that, C# says, "Oh, you need to define whether this is a private, a protected, or an internal or public int." So I'll make this a public int, and it's called number. It just doesn't like my naming convention, that's why it's red. That's for sharper. That is not normal C++. You won't get that. So if I create that public number int, we go over to test1, I can consume test2 in test1 by making a constructor. So here I created a constructor for test. In test, I can say I want a new test2, and notice how it comes right up here in my IntelliSense. It does that because it's looking in all the known namespaces that I have in this class, and so I can see it. So test2 t equals new test2, and then I can just do t dot, and I get to my numbers. There are no pointers per se in .NET. Everything's a pointer. Whenever you're passing variables to and from, they're all by reference. To pass an actual object across, I think you have to use the ref keyword, which we won't get into. Just know in your mind that anytime you're passing classes or variables, it's always by reference, so it's always a 4-byte memory address you're passing. So number equals 2. So I can get at that guy. Now let me show you making another class, or we'll go and change, I'll make another class. So I'll say in here, give me a new class called test3. Once I get a test3, I'm going to change this namespace. I'm going to call this namespace Kier. There we go, Kier. So if I were to go over to my test1 and I want to construct a Kier, a test3, I say test3. Now you notice it says I don't even know what a test3 is. And this is where Sharper saying, do you want to add a reference to the namespace test3? If I don't, if I say, well, this is a y equals a new test3, it can't compile. And if I try to compile this, it's going to say, you're missing a namespace. It doesn't know what test3 is. So to fix that, I come up to using, and I say, using, let's say using here. Now everything's fine. I can create my variable. I can compile the code. And other than it saying we don't have a suitable startup spot needing main, it would run just fine. So with these namespaces, you can make them any deep, just probably the same as you can in C++. So I can do here dot Knowlton dot was dot here. As soon as I do that, I jump over here. It says, I don't know what this test3 is anymore. So we go add the namespace. Now I have the using Kier.Knowlton was here. So each namespace, we can even kind of organize things with the dots, which is nice. Keeps things clean. Notice these are grayed out. These are generic namespaces that were added by Visual Studio when I said create a class, but they're grayed because ReSharper says you're not even using those in your class, so you really can remove them, which is true. So I've gone over the basic class, basic namespace, and what the usings are. So that's your first take on a C# project. Thanks.